Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And tonight I'm going to talk about the skill update, which really I wasn't expecting we were going to get a skill update. It's been quite a while since the KC Cup came out, but these skill changes are fantastic and I think that they're going to greatly benefit players of Duel Links. So of course, to start with, they're buffing Clear Wing Acceleration. I'm very excited for this, of course. So the change that they're making to Clear Wing Acceleration is that you no longer need to return a card from your hand to the deck in order to send red-eyed dice from your deck to the graveyard, or trade one of your Synchro monsters out for Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. This is a significant buff to the skill. It's a change that's needed because Speedroids has largely just fallen out of the meta. With the unnerfing of all the cards, and with the changes to the skill, the reversions, essentially the only thing that's changed between release Speedroids and this Speedroid is now you can't send whichever tuner monster you want from your deck to the graveyard. And that was really the only problem with the skill, was that you were able to send Den Den Nyko Duke from your deck to the graveyard, which was broken. So being able to dump red-eye dice doesn't matter. All that means is that you can run double yo-yo without it being a brick. And sending a Synchro monster from your field to the graveyard to revive Clear Wing Synchro Dragon and get lethal, that also doesn't matter. If you clear the field with Kite Drake and then you get lethal, well, you deserve lethal anyway. So all this does is make sure that you will get it no matter what your hand is like. This change is good. I do think more people will play Speedroids, and I think that Konami wants more people to play Speedroids because Speedroids and Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon keeps you from playing Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. I think Draco Berserker the Tenyi has taken over the meta in a way that Konami was not anticipating, and they would rather have powerful negates that don't banish. I understand that Draco Berserker the Tenyi doesn't negate the card, but banishing monsters, especially from hand and from graveyard, is not something that we've had to deal with a whole lot in Duel Links before, and I don't think a lot of people are prepared for it. I don't think there are a lot of counters to it. I think that Konami limited Draco Berserker the Tenyi specifically because they were expecting it would heavily compete with Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and then when Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon stopped seeing play overall, that lifted Tenyi in a way that they did not want. They're not going to limit Void Ogre Dragon, so instead they just want to promote Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and get those cards back in the meta so people want to play that instead of Draco Berserker, and I do think that that will make the meta healthier, so this is a good change. Next we have Gateway to the Another Dimension. This is funny because I actually am releasing a Chronomaly video this morning. I recorded this all the way back on Sunday on my stream. I've been playing Chronomaly. Chronomaly is a lot of fun. I think you guys will all enjoy it. And now the skill's getting buffed. Well, I'm not going to re-record the video, so here's your update. Before, the skill required that you have 12 Chronomaly monsters in your deck. And now it just requires that you have only Chronomaly monsters in your deck. So you can't play hand traps, but you could play 8 Chronomaly monsters instead of 12, or maybe 10 Chronomaly monsters instead of 12. It gives you more back row, it requires that you run fewer bricks. You do still want to run a lot of monsters to make sure that you can actually exceed summon, but you have flexibility. You could run specific monsters, and you don't need to run as many monsters that are bad, because there are only a few Chronomaly monsters that are actually pretty good. I do think that the solution is going to be basically like 9 monsters, probably 3 Chronomaly Moais, 3 Nebra Discs, and 3 of the Tuspa Rocket. Although people might want to run Crystal Bones. We'll have to see. I mean, if you do keep Crystal Bones, then that's 12 anyway. So it's not the worst thing in the world to play 12 cards, but you probably do want to cut it down a little bit. Experiment with this, because Chronomaly is pretty close to being good. And watch the video. The video today and the video tomorrow, you'll see what I mean. Okay. Next up, we have Empty, Infinite, and Infinite Light. This one's a little bit weirder. I guess the Timelords skill previously had a restriction where you could only use it at the beginning of the duel, which I've never noticed just because, of course, I was always going to use it at the beginning of the duel. It's kind of, you know, it allows you to discard a card, shuffle, you know, do other things. So it never made sense to me to use it any other time. So I guess I've never noticed that I just couldn't activate it after I did something else first. But they've changed that, so now you can activate it whenever, which is a buff to the skill technically. I guess you could set a bunch of back row, bleed your opponent's resources on turn 1, and then follow with the the Time Lord spam on turn 2. But I don't really think it's going to change too much. I think probably what happened is that too many people were getting frustrated by forgetting that the skill had this restriction and then not being able to use their skill for the whole game because they played one card beforehand. And they probably all yelled at Konami, and Konami just said, okay, fine, we'll change it. So this is more like a quality of life update, but it does benefit Time Lords, so that's cool. And now we have a Raging Pendulum nerf. With Raging Pendulum, they've changed it so that you don't get the Performapal monster in your hand randomly. So you get the Odd Eyes and the Magician monster from your deck into your extra deck, and then you can just do with that what you will. It does place a greater emphasis on Oath Dragon Magician, because if you're not getting a card in your extra deck and a card in your hand, then you're going to want to use Oath Dragon Magician to get that Magician monster in your hand as quickly as possible. That does give you your opponent clear outs. They will want to target your Oath Dragon Magician instead of targeting your Dragon Pit Magician that they've been targeting before. And if they destroy Oath Dragon Magician or they banish it with Cosmic Cyclone, and then they are able to set their scale again with another card from their hand, like, for example, Dragon Pulse Magician, maybe, yes, that will mean that you can still get the skill off, whereas it might have been more difficult to get the skill off if they had gotten rid of the Dragon Pit before. But the skill is less good. It's less beneficial for you to get the skill off to begin with, because yes, you can Pendulum Summon Odd Eyes maybe, and maybe one card from your hand, but unless that card's level 7, you're probably not doing too much with it. So I do think this means that people should focus on removing Oath Dragon Magician. I think that that means that people will lose more games if their Oath Dragon Magicians get removed. And I do think that this will cut down heavily on the use of Noble Dragon Magician, because Noble Dragon Magician relied on the level 4 in your hand to combine with the level 4 Odd Eyes to make the level 11 Neo Trishula. If you don't have that extra level 4, I don't necessarily think that Oath Dragon Magician is that good. Or sorry, I don't think that Noble Dragon Magician is that good, because just making a Synchro 7 like Clearwing Synchro Dragon isn't really worth using 2 monsters when one of them is Odd Eyes. You could have made a rank 7 instead, so... Yeah, this is a nerf, and I do think that's a good thing, because I do think that Odd Eyes has overstayed its welcome at this point, and the fewer people that are playing Odd Eyes, the better. If you want to play cool level 7 dragons, why not try Speedroids? So I think that you guys will all enjoy this. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have you all with me.